Voy a nada más arreglarme y venirme para acá.
meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. It is 5:06 p.m. and we're in commission chambers. I'll go ahead and start with an invocation. Mr. Lopez, will you give us an invocation? And the Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Davila.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we ask you to please guide us in the right direction, guide the city of Rio Grande, guide the EDC in the right direction, make sure we make the right decisions for our patrons in Rio Grande City. We ask you to please send more rain to our land. We ask you to please feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, and clothe the naked. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Ms. Solis, may I have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Guillen?
Present.
Ms. Davila? Present. Mr. Mendez?
Present.
Mr. Lopez?
Present.
Mr. Barrera?
Present.
Mr. Garza is absent. And Mr. Reina?
Present.
We do have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone signed up for public forum today?
No one signed up for public forum.
Okay. Item number 4 is approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
Madam President, if there's no changes to the previous meeting minutes, I so move we approve as read.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Barrera. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5 in your packet is the financial report. Ms. Hernandez.
Yes, in your packet is the financial report. This is the same report as last month. We don't have an update yet on the expenditures. However, I did include the purchase order report from when I took over in March up until the 8th of February, listing all the POs that have been made. If you have any questions on any of those expenses, I'm here. Our finance director, Mr. Leonel Cantu, is also present. If you have any questions on the financials, where we're at with the budget, we did get our July drop of sales tax, and that was in the amount of $501,915.02, and that was for the month of July. That was paid out to the city in the month of July.
Okay, and that in itself for the board members, you have the breakdown of how those funds are allocated.
Page 14.
The 500,000 on page 14, you'll see $125,478.76 is allocated to the EDC. This PO report, I know there's some expenditures on here. I have a question on a few of these. I know that we usually try to get all of these processed and paid timely. There is some recent charges I'm going to just ask briefly about. And it looks like we have a U.S. Treasury payment in the amount of $4,268.99.
Yes, this is on a penalty that we received, and Leonel is here to discuss that further. I believe this penalty is from 2015.
I think it's 2015. I don't know if you recall it, that you were at the EDC back in 2019. I will say I wrote an abatement letter to the IRS asking them to abate those penalties. I never heard back from them afterwards, but then a couple of months ago we received a letter saying that if we didn't pay, they were gonna levy on our bank accounts.
Oh.
So we had to pay the ones for the city, and then I received this one for the EDC as well. Those were some 1099s that were not filed on time back in 2015, I believe. So they charged the EDC $4,000 and the city legal fee $11,000.
And so
Yeah,
the
and
attempt to
I called them again and I asked them if they could abate those penalties, and they wouldn't budge.
touch you on that. I mean, it's just, it's ongoing from 2015?
We received the letter back then, and like I said, I wrote the abatement letter to the IRS, but I never received the notice directly.
From them?
I never got it, at least,
A correspondence of some sort?
Yeah, I never got to my desk at least, and then I just got that letter, I would say maybe like in March, April or March.
Did they acknowledge ever receiving that letter?
I'm sorry?
Did they acknowledge receiving the letter?
Yes.
They did acknowledge.
They said that that was not their problem. I mean, they wouldn't have a finance director at the time, so.
Interesting. And so, so this, being on this report means that a PO was made on the 17th of June, and does that mean that it's been paid?
It's been, I want to say yes.
It's been processed.
I went ahead and paid it because, like I said, they told us they were going to put a levy on the city accounts. I didn't want to take a risk on the EDCs either, so I just went ahead and paid that one.
Was that like a check or an
A
electronic
check,
payment?
yes, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know, Mr. Mendez has more experience dealing with the IRS, but, I mean, when they come knocking, you want to answer, and we don't.
I was
know.
confident they were gonna
Abate 'em?
take it away and they would give us the abatement, but I mean, I don't know why they didn't. I mean, we've never paid any penalties before, so
Right.
they normally do away with, Mr. Mendez would know, they normally do away with the first time if you've paid everything on time and you filed everything on time before. But I'm not sure why they didn't. want to do
There's
it
a
this time.
recourse, and maybe you have to give them a call again. There's a recourse called first time penalty abatement. If the EDC or the city in this case also has a clear history with them, it's very likely they're gonna grant the.
Yeah, and
forgiveness.
I went through those sources, like I said, I mean, I was very confident that they were gonna do away with it, but they didn't. I mean, and as a matter of fact, I always thought that they had done away with them because I never received the notice since then, so.
Can we still pursue that and get a refund back, or once we paid it, that's it?
If they do grant the forgiveness, then they'll send the money back.
Did they respond to you in a letter or an email?
We got a letter, and then I got on the phone with them, and I asked them if that, we had sent that letter back in 2019, I wanna say,
Maybe you
2020.
talked to the wrong agent.
I mean,
You know,
yeah, I
sometimes
mean,
you have
it is the case, I mean, sometimes you get some agents that they just won't budge, and
Right.
so,
Well, let's just try.
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
try,
one
we'll
more
give it a
time.
try. We'll give it a try. I just didn't wanna wait because, I mean, I didn't wanna place a levy on our account, so,
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
so-
Thank
yeah,
you
I'll
for
definitely
that.
try again.
And just give it another try and see what they say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go try it again.
Okay.
And then these other charges here, are these payments or are these pending to be paid? Ms. Hernandez?
Which one?
All of them that are here on this column for outstanding, on page 20 of 46.
Some of them have been paid out and some of them are pending. Today at our city meeting, we requested the approval of the GIS web tech.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for a fact that one has not been paid out.
I just have a question on some of those payments. I just want to find out what they are. So there's some payments, I guess, the vendor says card services, CENT, and there are different payments throughout this report.
That's our, the credit card. That's when we use the credit card and we pay that out to the card services.
And usually what's the credit card used for?
If we're gonna order something online or, when we're registering for trainings and things like that.
Do you have
Usually the
statements?
purchases
Do you have statements of the credit card, right?
Yes.
Are those different credit cards or same one credit card?
So during the transitionary period, we were using a credit card from the city because the previous card was under Mrs. Guillen's name. At this point, the card has already been updated. I think we just have 2 charges on that card, and one of them was for the training.
Yeah, we try to stay away from
So
credit cards,
the
but
statement would be-
lately, like hotels, they won't take any checks anymore, so we have to pay them with the credit cards. But for the most part, it's emergencies for here, Walmart or the hotels whenever somebody's traveling.
If you can add the credit card statement, that would be better,
Sure.
just to make sure.
Now that we have our own credit card, that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
And the one that we paid, the web tech, that's,
That's for our site selection software that we have on our website.
okay.
Yes. And so we're on a 3-year contract with them, and after that, it'll be year to year. So
Ms.
that
Guillen.
has not been paid out yet, since it's over 5,000, it went through the commission form today, at today's meeting.
Right.
Ms. Guillen, I have a question on that subscription, the annual subscription that the commission approved. What's your thought on that subscription? Because you have used it, right?
The subscription for GIS
Yes.
website? So it's a platform for site selection. There are actually 2 companies that do it here in Texas that are notable. They're one of them. The other one, I can't think of their name. GIS Planning is the other firm that offers that. What it does is it gives you a platform in which you can showcase those available properties within your city
Yes.
limits online. This one has the ability to generate brochures on the spot,
Okay.
an analysis of the area, which could give you anything from traffic counts to your demographic information.
Okay.
You can use pins or you can
Yeah,
draw
Ms.
maps.
Hernandez explained it that well, but my question is it really useful or?
I mean, it depends. When we signed up for it, it was really for the demographic feature.
Okay.
To have access to all of the data that ESRI provides. ESRI is a nationwide provider of demographic information. They take and collect.
And that's crucial for big businesses, right? They want to see everything at a glance.
They can visit our website and get that information themselves.
Okay.
When we have some of these businesses interested in the city, we're able to send links within that site to show different site selections based on their requirements. And
Okay.
it has an option where you can impose an image of a,
And that can be used with the city and the EDC, right?
It's interchangeable
Okay.
for all departments. In fact, when we signed up for it, the idea was that it would be accessible not only to the EDC for its research and getting information out, but also for other departments that needed to study certain pockets of the city for grant writing purposes. So if, let's say, the Parks and Recreation is writing up a grant, they want to know how many people live in this neighborhood, how many of them have automobiles or have insurance, or how many of those are kids or male or female. You can dig down into the data to do that. You just have to.
So it's a must.
I mean, it's a free-for-all because
Okay.
the public right now can actually
Okay.
access it
No.
if they want
And
to.
the recommendation from Ms. Hernandez was, yeah, it's useful, and I just wanted to hear from you as well.
And is this an annual payment?
yes, an annual.
It also shows what we're missing out on, right? It doesn't show like,
You get what is, your retail leakage is now called retail, Melinda, where are you?
just
It has
hiding behind.
a different name, but you can find out what percentage and amounts of dollars are being spent in various different retail segments, so that you can see, oh, we need more hardware stores, or we're seeing more of a market potential in your shoe stores, and that's very beneficial to small businesses that are looking to find where they can make pretty sustainable business by looking up the data and finding out, if shoes don't sell in Rio Grande, then why are you selling them? These
We once had a
reports.
shoe store that had the most in the nation.
Oh, I know. But it's accessible to the public, and we've always encouraged businesses to use it, students at school to use it for research, our city departments to use it for its own internal information gathering for grants and other stuff.
That's nice.
So
It's a very good-
myself and Melinda actually did the training on it. I wanted to obviously familiarize myself with the software because I had never used it before and wanted to see all the reports that we were able to access. It was a lot of information, so we actually scheduled to have an additional training just as a refresher. But yes, it did have access to lots of different reports that can assist us. You're able to select the area, so you can do 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes from here, and draw those demographics from all that area, so that we're not just seeing data from Rio Grande City, we're seeing throughout the U.S.
It will be great whenever you have an opportunity to also just explain or give you know, a little training to all the employees who really need it. They might be beneficial for all of them.
Yes.
Okay, well, nice. And before we move on, Mr. Leonel, now that you're there, I have a question. Are there any businesses in town that are exempt from paying those sales taxes?
They shouldn't.
No?
No. I mean, everybody applies for their own tax exempt, but, I mean, unless you have the certificate that says that you're tax exempt, everybody should
So
be
you're
paying.
not aware of any? I'm
No.
just curious. You know, some.
They don't, I mean, we don't find out who pays the taxes or who doesn't. I mean, that's the controller. If we want to identify a business, we would have to request it from the comptroller and
Okay,
ask
so
them.
it has nothing to do with the city?
Right,
Okay.
But if they report to us,
they should.
we believe there's a business that's not paying, or you have a receipt that they're not paying 8.25% and they're in city limits, they can let us know and we can follow up.
Yeah, we
with
can
the
follow up with
Have you
the
guys had that
comptroller.
scenario in the past, or?
company. We have, yeah.
Those
Businesses not paying the 2%?
Well, they don't, sometimes they're unaware. I've been on lack of education on their part, that within city limits, it has to be the 8.25%.
We used to request a quarter report, and I would send it over to Dalinda, where they would send us I mean, like all the tax payments from all the
Yeah.
businesses here in the city, but it was a report like this big, so it was kind of difficult to go through. Like Walmart, they had a whole bunch of businesses that same Walmart, but there's different Walmarts, and I guess Walmart has
It's a
Different.
pretty massive spreadsheet, but
Yeah.
it gives you a pretty good indication of their sales activity, because that's not public, it's for private information, but the city can use that information to make determinations on where it needs to make investments, but that information is available. And going back to your question on the who pays a sales tax, not everybody does. Not everybody's in the business that requires you to have a sales tax certificate. So I'll give you an example. You've got daycares.
Yes.
There are plenty of them in the community, and they operate their business, but they don't generate a sales tax.
Yes.
Sales taxes come when you have a sale of goods,
Retail
and
store.
only certain items
Yes.
are taxed.
Even rented.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
The ones that are required, that are evading some taxes, I was just wondering if that's the case, and we know any.
yeah.
The state controller handles that. Whoever is doing the reports, or has to be doing reports, I mean, they do the same thing the IRS does.
Yeah.
They'll go into your bank account and making sure that, and if you don't pay your sales tax, or let's say you go a year or two not paying, they'll average out what you're selling, and then they'll levy your bank account for, been there, done that. And, you know, the state controllers is tough on that. And they wanna make sure that our communities get the money that they deserve from.
And
from
that the
people.
state, because the state
The
does
state.
the collection of the sales tax, and then they collect our share for the
Yeah.
city. What's really important, and what we learned, going back to David's question earlier, is that as our city limits change, they, as in the comptroller's office, needs to be aware as well, because maybe you're in our city limits today and you're paying 6.25, but tomorrow you're in the city limits, and guess what? Now you have to pay those additional or charge those additional extra 2 cents. If you don't notify Austin that has changed, they're gonna continue to collect the 6.25, and the one that ends up losing out is the community that doesn't report that they have a business in their city limits. So it's important that as we grow our limits, that we're informing Austin so that they can update the information they have and collect
Correct.
accordingly.
Even those businesses that are closed and did not close their sales tax, they're still required to file a sales tax return, a sales tax report, and pay the $50, I think, minimum. And, you know, there's just,
And that makes a question maybe to planning and zoning department. I guess when a new permit is issued for a business, are they requiring for the business to, if he or she is required to have a sales tax permit? Is that something that the city oversees them?
Yes, it does.
Part of the occupancy permit.
Is part of the city
For
department?
the occupancy permit, we ask, they have a sales tax, and we ask to see it, because sometimes they have the same business in Sullivan City or in Alpha. We wanna make sure they have a Rio Grande City address, within the corporate city limits, not just Rio Grande City outlets and all over.
Thank you. And last just one more question on that list. Since it's an individual, just, there's a payment of 1642 to Oscar Gonzalez. Was this service that was done?
That was, so we had an issue at our Main Street office with AC.
Okay.
So he actually went 3 or 4 separate times. We had a rodent in the roof that gnawed at some
I
of
wasn't
the
aware.
wiring, so.
There was something bigger than that.
I don't want to say it nicely. We had a
Somebody,
friendly gift,
something that was very hungry.
right?
Yes,
The unit is
that
brand new,
was
we
the
just
problem.
purchased it.
Yeah,
It was the damage that was done by that
correct.
extra frame.
Well, going back to the expenditure report, I know we're only looking at, as of June 30th, but there are some things that just, stand out for me, and that is in reference to,
You're on page,
I'm on page 18. Actually, you can go, to page 18 as an example. So you have overtime there. I know that the city's very careful about overtime, so I'm certain that at the end of the fiscal year, it'll all balance out. But it's important that we try to monitor the time of personnel so that we're not overextending ourselves on time where it's not necessary.
so my position on that is, we've had a lot of events, and where we provide the option that you can flex your time for some of our hourly employees. They did come in and work in the weekend, and I believe that they should be paid for that time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
You get paid
So,
for every.
We have our Main Street markets that happen for several hours in the weekend. We did our trolley tour, the sip and see. So the more events that we have, which are great to have for our community, but we have hourly staff that need to be present at that event. I do offer the option of flexing, but if they want to get their time paid, I think it's important that we offer that.
What is the average of overtime that,
So,
on a weekly basis per se?
For this department of Main Street that we're looking at page 18, it was budgeted at $1,500 of overtime.
And we're at
It will be a good idea also, Ms. Hernandez, to include the overtime report.
So we're.
So hour-wise is what,
So-
on a weekly basis or monthly basis?
It's just
I don't
depending
have
on
anything.
when we have these events, and she also has Main Street meetings that occur after 5, so just depending on what we have scheduled for that.
So is that something that we need to adjust in the future, or just?
That was gonna be my next point, too, that, and it's right, to where you're leading to, that, the option, obviously, you always wanna be careful, with the time for your employees, but maybe if it is that they are, needing, more hours because of the added events and whatnot, then maybe as this new budget is adjusted, we make sure we have, adequate overtime to cover. But I take the more conservative approach wherever possible, but I think that would be a solution to that, because right now we're very slim on overtime, even on the community development side, and I know that at the end of the year, it'll balance itself out, but in the event that you spend out everything that you've got for the year, you're gonna fall short where it's most important, and that's employee pay.
Yes.
If the overtime is consistent on a monthly basis, well, that probably means that you need another employee. And most of the times it's better to hire another employee. It's cheaper than paying overtime.
That's a good point, too.
Yeah, so just consider that. Take
Yeah,
that
short
into,
staff.
yeah, and you'll have an extra hand. And probably be paying less than what you're paying more on a monthly basis.
Yes, I think for that office, we discussed in the past meeting, a secretary for that office.
What is that office?
It's a Main Street office.
Or the Main Street. Do you think, it's you, Ms. Chandra, right?
Excuse me?
Is that your office?
Yes, correct, yes.
Do you think you need an extra hand there?
Depending for, like, example,
whole year, we're looking at the overtime and,
It's how Ms. Hernandez mentioned, I guess it depends, depending on the month, depending what it is that we're doing, what events coming up. I've been here for a little over a year, and I've noticed that there's some months that are a little bit busier, especially, for example, in case of the fall that's coming up. Other than that, sometimes it just depends on the month.
so you can say part-time maybe,
Maybe I was gonna say maybe part-time?
a part-time?
Especially what I did notice last year, it's the beginning of the fall through the end of the year.
It's kind of a seasonal, like during the
Correct.
holidays.
Yes, ma'am.
And we,
And then, of course, our markets now, we're having them every 3 months. We're not having them monthly anymore.
we did notice that on the city side also, we sent an email, I think it was like a month ago, right, Mr. Milan? That all overtime needed to be pre-approved before done, but I guess
You
for
just have to-
most departments, they all had the same excuse. There was more events throughout this year, and
Yeah.
almost every department reached their max in their overtime already. We still got 3 months to go to the year.
Have we ever had a part-timer or like use somebody from other
We had
department?
a workforce,
Oh, okay.
we would get, I know we tried to get back on that program. I spoke to Ms. Brown about that, and I know during the coffee talk, I met with someone from workforce and talked about when that next round would be for us. But that'd be a good opportunity to get someone to come and intern with us or get some job skill training.
Yeah, because one part is the overtime, but the other one, which is more important, is not for you to be short-staffed.
Right.
Uh,
And then we have Ms. Yandere, who obviously she's gonna be on maternity leave for us, so we are gonna have to come up with some sort of solution in the time that she's out to make sure that that office is covered, because that is during our fall
Correct.
time that we're programming that, and we have a lot of events that happen during the fall and the Christmas.
Do you have somebody in mind already?
No, I do not.
Nope.
We have not talked about that yet.
Okay.
Planning is key.
So you're leaving on maternity leave in the fall? She's
Yes,
leaving
probably right before the fall.
right before the fall. Congratulations. Yeah, and, you know, we work with overtime a lot, and we plan our work and work our plan. But, if we are putting in a lot of overtime, it doesn't seem like a lot, and this overtime here, this is up to now, and we're almost over with the fiscal year.
That's not an updated, but I think it's up to June.
It's up to June,
We're at
fine, you know, we're at 95% of the fiscal year done already, which is, this is nothing,
Yeah.
you know, nothing compared to,
Yeah.
to other. Yeah, we can hire somebody, you know, part-time, but as long as we budget, like Ms. Yan mentioned, we have a good budget of overtime, okay? And we have to really look at our schedule of what we're gonna be doing in our community. And our employees are the most important, they're the backbone of the community, they're the ones that get everything done. You know, every single employee from the EDC and from the city, they're out there getting things done. And they have to work, and some of them are salary, some are not. But if we can look at something towards, if they can earn comp time, like Ms. Hernandez had mentioned, earn comp time to certain, and we can pay overtime if it's an emergency type of deal. Let's say that we ask them to work Freedom Fest, you know, those hours that they work the Freedom Fest can turn around
Right.
and use them as comp time. Now, comp time can be used at any given time that they need, holidays, vacations, you know, they can use those and get paid for them.
And I think we've discussed
Yeah, I
that in
think-
the past, but that needs to be a policy with the city.
Yeah.
Because right now, there is no policy to have comp time. I think at some point, the city had comp time, and then they did away with it.
Yeah, I think it was really getting out of hand. It was hard to keep track of all that comp time that was being accumulated by the employees. So
Okay.
it kind of got out of hand, so I think they did away with it.
Oh,
With some good internal controls, you
Yeah.
can.
yeah, you got comp,
Yeah.
you got regular comp and FLSA.
I guess-
FLSA is over 40
Yeah,
hours.
you have comp just,
Regular comp is when there's a holiday in
Right.
between, and you work an extra hour or two during the day, that's, or, let's say you work 10 hours on an 8-hour workday, your 2 hours of comp time.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a way to do it. I mean, it's just gotta be planned, but,
Yeah, and it'll save us a lot of money, really, truly, because
Yeah.
some of these employees don't even have time to take vacation because they use it during the year,
yeah.
so.
Are there any further questions?
No.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, this is for information only, so we'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda, which is the executive director's report.
Yes, that executive director's report is on page 22. So listed are the projects. I spoke with the owner of the Home 2 by Hilton last week. He came by the office to discuss the progress on his project. And when he was looking at possibly having the groundbreaking, he's finalizing some items with the financing, but he's hoping that in approximately 3 weeks, we can start looking at a groundbreaking ceremony for that hotel. Also, with the Star Plaza, the department store Ross has submitted preliminary plans to our planning department and our fire department for review. I spoke with Mr. Milan about this project, and it's anticipated that they'll issue the permit before the end of the month, with an anticipation completion date for the end of the year.
That's perfect timing because the holidays
Yes.
come and Marshall's had their opening right around that time, I think, and
Because it was cold for that.
they had a really, really great start.
Yes. And then we've been meeting bi-weekly on the progress for our public safety building. It's almost done. I know they're looking at having substantial completion by July 31st. Some of the payments and such were discussed at our city commission meeting. We still have pending for that project the award for the drainage project. I've spoken to the commission, and I know we discussed it during our workshop as far as allocating where those funds will be covered from, so that we can award that contract. But that contract was already advertised, bid out. We had the bidders come into the bid opening, and we got someone that met the cost, the probable cost estimate, so it's ready to be bid out. I know that work needs to get completed to get that drainage out. We've had some rain, and luckily that retention has held up, but any more rain would have been a big issue for us in that building, as it would have returned back to the actual facility. So something to have in the back of your mind, that is something that we need to push forward with as soon as possible.
So you have a bid that you've already accepted?
We have not accepted, or
You had a bid opening?
we had a bid opening, we had bidders. The engineer team made a recommendation for the lowest bidder. That contract needs to be awarded through the city commission. But before we're able to push forward with that, we need to determine where that cost is going to get paid out of. If it's going to get paid out of this EDC, if it's gonna be split with the city, if this is something that the city is in charge of. I know initially, the EDC covered the engineering costs to get this project ready for bid, because for the most part, our EDC was responsible for the utilities, the offset utilities for this project. However, we were not anticipating that expense of the drainage, if you recall, because the plans were that there would be another building behind that would carry out some of that drainage lines into the creek. Since that project did not come into fruition, that property is reverted back to the EDC at this point, and we need to continue that work in getting that drainage out to the creek.
You make a note of drainage improvement costs to be discussed with the county. Is there an update on that?
Yes, so during the workshop, this project was discussed. And I know Ms. Diaz, I don't think she's here in attendance. She was tasked with following up with the county. Apparently there's some funds for drainage improvements. And we're going to make an attempt to see if they'll provide some funds for this project. But if not, it's still something that needs to get done as soon as possible.
My recommendation would be that you talk with Ms. Benavides at the Stark County Industrial Foundation about that. I've had conversations with Judge Vera about those funds.
Okay.
It's
What did you say, Judge Vera?
we're on the record. No, so what they have is a pretty good fund for drainage improvement, but he's been very adamant about making it a countywide plan for drainage, and as of yet, I'm not aware that they have spent anything on that, but the moment you release those funds to a project, you're going to put them up and available for each precinct of the county. That makes it a little bit challenging for him to try to accomplish the county as a whole. I mean, those are county funds. We'd have to talk to the judge again, but I would talk to Ms. Benavides and see what has changed since we've had those discussions in the past, because I know that when we initially started, I think it was the St. Ives project, we had thought about using some of those dollars, and it turned out we used EDC dollars instead for completing that drainage.
Is that money available to the city, or is it just for the
It's
county?
the county. So the county levies a tax for
this?
drainage.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my
But we pay for
question.
that as well through,
Well, because I've been in some of,
properties within the city, we're paying that tax as well.
okay.
But it's at the
Because I've been
discretion
at
of
some of the meetings, and it seems like they're just trying to alleviate the drainage elsewhere and not, for my, going to the meetings, I see that they wanted to put that towards rural areas where there's a lot of, where they need a lot of proper drainage.
Actually, a few years ago, we asked for a drainage study to be done here in the city of Rio Grande. And they were gonna go in conjunction with the county.
I think that's what they were gonna spend money on.
They were gonna go in conjunction with the county, but up to date, I mean, I wanna say it's been 3 years now.
That was my question. How long has that money been?
We've been
Been there
paying
for a
on
long
it,
time.
we've been paying it on our tax
For a long time.
for a long time.
Yeah.
It's very minimal, but we've been paying on it for a long time. And I had asked for a drainage study because the drainage study is big for anybody to come in and do business with Stark County and Rio Grande and Roma and Gruya. And anybody that wants to move in, they wanna know, how good the water
Infrastructure,
flows,
yes.
the infrastructure
And
is.
the county has done some
But it
studies
hasn't
with some
been
of the
done.
engineers. There have been some studies, but I don't know, they haven't moved on them. Because
think-
I've been
I think-
at some of the meetings where they presented,
I think
some engineers
some of
presented.
the land development, they do their own drainage study and stuff like
This
that,
was
but
a-
not the countywide or citywide.
There was one done from the county because they started they were trying to bring, from the west side of Roma.
Uh-huh.
Is that Loma Blanca or
Yes.
something like that? They were studying, and I think they presented something, I think, up to Alvarez Road.
Yeah, I think that's the
That's-
pocket of the major problem in the county.
And
is out
that's
there.
what they presented. There were some engineers that came in and they made a presentation, and I don't think anything was, well, obviously nothing was done.
I think that's one of the things that we really need to push for in conjunction with the county. Talk to Ms. Benavides, see if we can get a drainage study going for our area, because that only helps us how we're gonna proceed with.
Sustain with the growth.
Yeah, with how we're gonna proceed with growth, A lot of concrete's is being poured out there, and I see it on 3167. I see it on 3167.
I see it in our
The little
development.
drainage ditches that TxDOT has there, they're not gonna last very long because of all the concrete that is being built. So they're gonna overfill one day, they're gonna overflow one day. So, we did ask for that drainage study for
And now that
different
you
areas.
mentioned that, the Midway, you guys, TxDOT has a drainage there and it's all plugged.
No, we gotta clean the middle, yeah, the middle part.
Just because I got some calls from
Yes,
some residents.
yes, I know.
that
We're,
sent me
we're, we're,
videos.
we're making our way through everywhere, cleaning. They had never been cleaned in the past 10 years, I think. But yeah, the drainage study is good, and that's one of the steps that, in order to attract more businesses, more,
Well, before that, just making sure that we're gonna have the support from those monies. I mean,
right.
imagine doing it and
Yeah, well, I think that it needs to get done regardless.
Regardless.
because You need drainage for that
Right.
building.
But As far as you know, those monies have not been used. As far as I know.
don't think so.
I don't think
I
that
don't
they've been
think
used, as
so.
far as I
And
know.
my conversation with the judge about this was many, many years back, and the fund was accumulating, and he had plans for addressing the countywide.
Because they do have a board.
They do,
I believe so.
yeah.
They have a what?
I
They have a
believe
board?
that, I think that the drainage district has a board, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they don't.
They don't?
They don't have a board. That was discussed here a couple of years ago. They need to bring on board, a board on board, so they can discuss any doing with that money.
Mr. Lopez, so that drainage study never went through?
No, actually, it was, I had.
Or the money never came?
Well, we never pursued through the county. We actually asked the city, I had asked the city to do a drainage study because we're working on this development here.
Yes.
What is this development gonna do?
My question is, well, it will be for the county, like, hey, if we provide that study, I mean, you have money, I know you wanna divide them into your counties, right? Roma and, right. So based on, are they gonna take their decision based on population? Because if that's the case, look at us. I mean, this precinct, it's full of people.
I think that is something that we can,
I just wanna make sure, not, I wanna give it all to Roma, or 50% to Roma, and then the rest for the rest.
I
Well,
think it's at the judge's discretion, if I'm not mistaken.
well, if we can present it in that way, that look at a population, look how we are growing, we really need this, there's money available, let's work together, and I'm sure we all can have a.
you can get yourself on the city on the county commission,
Okay.
on one of their agendas.
Or,
Yeah.
what is the drop dead date for having to contract this? So we've got bids, they've been ranked, they've been recommended. How long does the city have to take action on that?
That's what I was gonna ask.
We don't have an exact time frame.
So those bids
Those
are
bids,
good for what, 30, 60, 90 days?
60 days.
Oh, they're expired, but I think Ms. Hernandez called
Yes.
the lowest one today,
Yes.
right? And did he, say that it was okay?
I left a message.
Oh, you didn't talk to him?
I didn't get a hold of.
Okay.
You gotta be careful because prices do go
No,
up. They
yeah,
fluctuate.
that's why
That's why we wanted to.
yes, we've been trying, I've been talking to Mr. Hernandez about it, so yes, definitely, because the prices, I don't know if they're gonna award
Honor
the
that
same, they're gonna honor that one and we can get it for that price anymore.
One of the questions, and maybe you want to look into this, I know we look at this almost at this time of the year, is how much money will we be carrying over into the next fiscal year?
To the fund balance, projected year
Have
1.7,
it here.
at the end of last fiscal year, probably 2.
No,
By the end of
how
this
much
fiscal year.
will we carry over?
300,000 more.
300,000.
That's projected right now, that's,
This is what was projected at the end of the, and this is what he's projecting at the end of this fiscal year.
So with those $300,000, it's possible that you can get something like this if the commission were to act on a contract to pay for that drainage,
yeah,
right?
yep.
But I say, talk to the county first.
Yes, and I also wanted to speak to legal, because I know that any monies used by the EDC needs to be advertised, and this project was not on the original work plan, so it wasn't part of the initial public hearing.
But I believe it's under the resolution, the standing resolution for projects.
For the drainage improvement, I'll verify, because at that point, we wouldn't have had a cost for this project. So again, it might be something that we have to provide public notice about if these funds are gonna be used for this project. But I'll verify with you.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Going back to the Los Velas Road improvement, I followed up with engineer Mr. Rosbel Peña on June 27th. They still haven't moved that last utility pole. I referred him over to the planning department because he indicated they're waiting for one approval from Verizon so that they're able to move that over and we can bid out that project. So this may be something that we may run into that will go into the next year's budget if it's not completed by the end of September. So just something to be aware of. The Villanueva subdivision, we actually had a meeting today, this morning, to discuss the progress on that subdivision and some of the work with the water, the sewer, the storm drains, when they would be paving some of the roads. They're doing some of the cutouts, but also working with the landscapers that are coming in. They don't want to pave until everything is underground, including the electrical. They're working with AP on their plans as well. And they brought up an issue with an asbestos line that's in the property and needing to get that replaced. I did request that they make a formal request to our city commission since that line is within their property. The Texas Regional Bank, that was also a project that we assisted through the EDC, and we're pending for those utility poles to be relocated to the back of that property. IHOP, there's a change of date for the groundbreaking to be announced, but it is programmed for Tuesday, July 22nd at 9 a.m. I'm just pending the confirmation from Mr.
23rd.
Hadir.
July 23rd.
July 23rd at 9 a.m. Tuesday, but again, just pending a final approval from the owner, Mr. Hadir. So once we have that approved, we'll update the invitation. So we're all invited to that. We'll be putting the EDC tent there. We have a box that we put dirt in with the shovels and assisting them with that setup for this groundbreaking. And the McDonald's had a pre-development meeting to discuss the site plan, and that also went up for approval at our city commission meeting. Once we get the plans in, we'll definitely make an official announcement. I know there's been some announcements about the McDonald's, but at this point we don't have building plans. They're still working on that subdivision. Also discussed at today's meeting was the application for the downtown revitalization program with Texas CDBG. That application will be due on August 31st. It's for $500,000. The match is $50,000, and it has been added to our work plan for the upcoming budget year. And this is to make improvements on Britain Avenue, and it'll have a hydraulic lift for those wheelchair accessible individuals trying to get on our kiosk.
A lift,
Yes.
like a mechanical lift?
Yes. Yes.
Is it mobile?
No, it'll be on the, next to the.
It's fixed.
Is that allowed? I mean, by
ADA?
preservation? Well, I
Because we have
know.
preservation, but
Is that like,
Yes.
because it is? Okay.
is there something that we can build instead of, because of, with the weather, it's gonna get weathered right away, and, you know, we're gonna,
A lift has mechanical
yeah.
parts that,
And there'll also be improvements to the lights in that area as well.
I'm sure there's a way to ramp it up.
Is it historical?
We can look
it's a
at
long
it.
ramp. So
It-
that might
it-
be the solution, because
Yeah.
I'm afraid of what he's saying, having that structure with all the
Could they do a
elements.
ramp?
Well, so it'll be a maintenance issue in the future.
We looked into
Yeah.
It's a
gonna be very-
inclination,
a mechanical
the
lift.
inclination is 200.
Let's look at those options, see
Yeah.
what's best. But so this grant's not submitted until August 31st.
That's when we did
Who's writing this grant?
GrantWorks. So we did an initial submission, including these projects, to see if we would get invited to apply. So based on the scope of work, we were and are going through the second phase of this application.
Okay.
Okay. Hill Country Drive Extension, we have no update on this project as of yet. I know that our mayor was gonna meet with the owner of St. Ives to discuss this project further, and I will follow up with him to get briefed. Amazon, the contract has been fully executed, and they'll be working on this pod that's gonna be here in the back of the property. within the next 6 to 8 weeks, should be completed. Listed are the business prospects. I don't know if you have any questions on that. And I also listed some of the different meetings and events that I attended since our last meeting.
I do have a comment on the prospects.
Yes.
Regarding the soccer stadium, I know Mr. Islas had mentioned some updates on the last meeting. I know the city is working on redoing the park over here, the
County Park.
the old county park. Obviously, when Mr. Islas was here last meeting, he did mention a multi-million investment from this group, I guess. The city had to put in some of the land, right?
Yes.
At the time they talked, he said about 13 acres at the time.
When I spoke to him, yeah, he asked for between 14 to 15 acres.
I guess my question is it feasible to have a conversation with prospects, and as far as, is there any way they could accommodate themselves in the city's park?
Since the city would not be owning the soccer field, that property was gifted over to the city as a park. So there may be some issues with that, for us to take that donation and then further sell it, or...
No, what I'm saying is, this is a league apparently that is still in development, I believe, and I think it would take a lot, maybe time and money to come and decide to come into Reagan City and invest millions of dollars, right? And maybe not knowing if this is gonna work in the area. Maybe it's an invitation for them to try it out with our fields, or the city's fields, I'm sorry, and see what's the reception from the public and the local citizens. And then maybe later on look into further developing a full-blown stadium as they have proposed. I don't know if the possible fields are gonna be built, if they comply with what they require. No?
Well, no, so the plan for the fields there at the Ringwood Park are to be smaller fields for a 7-on-7 game, so mostly for kids. And the league that they're running is an adult semi-pro league.
But it's not the regular league. I know they do play less players than the regular league. That's my understanding. I'm just saying, if there's something that maybe could be brought into the city.
That's a great point, Mr. Mendez. In my opinion, I think we should add prospects once we have a serious meetings with the investors, not just because somebody says that I have investors and this is what they're bringing. I think we jumped that first step. And so for the future, and in my opinion, as a reference, until we get like a formal invitation and a presentation from the owners and their plans to build something, not just a presentation or a video, we shouldn't even be discussing these because...
Or a letter?
Yes,
Letter of
yes,
intent, something more
at
formal?
least, yes, because just giving my opinion, this is not gonna happen. The same project has had 2 groundbreakings in a war zone in Miguel Alemán. I don't think nobody in there, in business, you know, will put $50 million or $30-40 million in Miguel Alemán and another 40 in Rio Grande for a professional league. So this one, I don't think it's gonna happen. And again, for the future, I would love to see prospects, but after the formal letter of intent or an invitation from the actual owner, not just from an employee or from a contract from the city. So I don't think this is legit.
Yeah, because last time as we discussed, it was a prospect, the big investment into the city, and like you said, maybe I don't believe they have presented any serious funding into this type of projects, and it just occurred to me, okay, I know the city's going to develop something.
Yes.
Could they do something together, not in the sense of giving them or the city giving them the premises, it's just allowing them to use them as they try to expand or
To see if it even works here. I don't know if we have the demographics for
right,
them.
exactly.
Because it's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? To me, it's a hard pill to swallow.
It goes back to what Mr. Barrera is saying.
Professional league.
Do they have a letter of intent to come into
No.
Rio Grande?
We don't have it.
You know,
last year.
there's,
Okay.
we're not gonna invest into something that we think that's gonna come in and it's not. So if they do come in before we even start the development of that park,
Yeah.
then we'll sit down we'll have a roundtable discussion and see what
Yes.
we can help them with and what we can.
And maybe there could be an approach where we could make them aware that there's something coming into the city, provided by the city. Are they interested in doing a pilot program?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but
Because over here we're
again,
talking
we
about-
don't know who the owners
Yeah,
are, we don't know
Have
who the
you talked
prospects
to
are,
the owner?
but
So I spoke
Right,
to
hey,
here
him.
we're
they
talking
need, they need to come in
We're
first.
talking about
And
60
he
acres
sent
over
me
here. And then,
a rendering of,
Well, we
what
have
they
them
were
here.
I know we
wanting.
haven't, but could they use for something else? Have they really serious?
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
they're not.
But
if
have
they-
they
So
done
the
anything here?
city, the city's
In the-
about
in
to
the-
do
in the US side?
in the,
That we
in the
know
old
of?
park,
No.
we're gonna have 3 or 4 small soccer fields. I mean, if I was the investor of a $30-40 million project, okay, let me see the population demographics, let me see if soccer it's an interest in that city, let me see what leagues
To that
do they
tune
have.
of
Right now, we
30
don't have
million.
anything, so we wanna start something. We just know that most of our soccer players go play
Yeah.
Everywhere
in other cities. So we want him here, so we're working on it, and he was already approved to start looking, and it's gonna be a very good place, right in the middle, and more stuff, so. But yes, just for the future.
Yeah, so this is the department, report, it's nothing that
Oh,
we're
no,
gonna
no,
take
yes.
action on, but it's just to make you
And I'm just
aware of
comparing.
who has reached out.
I'm
to
just
this.
comparing to the one on the bottom, remember,
Yes.
he came, the owner came to you, so that's, hey, this is what I wanna do, show me, I'm the owner, this is what we do, these are our sales. Just as a reference.
Are there any other questions on the report? I know for one of the prospects, I included, his proposal, the master plan mixed-use development. But again, that's just something for
This one.
reviewing.
The sunset bridge, the next one.
You're referencing
It's
page,
after page 25.
25.
Where's this in?
This would be on,
Era nomás. Era
on 755 and, where the proposed.
La Cantera y Riverwalk.
is going to go.
Where's this
Oh,
at?
yeah, so I can see the 755.
Over there on Sunset Ridge.
It's close to the loop,
Yes,
right?
yes.
A lot of times it can be, you can get
By 755?
presented a lot of information. As Mr. Barrera said, it's incumbent upon us to thoroughly vet it, to make sure that there's a serious offer, so that you can continue the work on it. You don't want to spin your wheels on something that may or may not come to fruition. You want to take, those projects and look at which ones are ready, before bringing them out here as prospects. But I haven't seen this updated master plan mixed-use development information, but I'm familiar with this project because it has been shared with me in the past.
And then, I also included the work plan. So I have on page 26, the 2023-2024, work plan. And then on page 28 is the one we discussed at the workshop. I went ahead and made, the additions as discussed. Worked on the totals, and then on page 31 is the actual budget breakdown. You want to have any more discussions on the work plan? Because hoping that in the next month's meeting, we will have the public hearing for the work plan and the budget.
Do we correct the $100,000 double entry on this?
Yes, sir.
Is it-
And the $300,000 also, is it corrected or no? The $300,000 that we supposedly had, and then that was the money
Yeah,
that,
yeah, that was
okay.
never included.
And then, I have a question, because I don't know if we put it on the budget. Well, the first question is, what's the real name of that development, the St. Knives? Because I was told that it was the real village. Is it
Rio
Saint?
Grande Village? So
is
the
it-
whole development is the St. Ives development, and the front, property that's developed, if I'm not mistaken, is the Rio Grande Village.
Rio Grande Village, okay. Now, are we planning on having, one of those big structures where they put the names of the businesses and all that?
So what I requested, when we
What's it
started
called?
the discussion,
Where the names are?
Sign.
the signs.
It's a
Yeah,
signage.
the big signs?
So when I requested, when we began discussing the Hill Country Drive extension, and we ended up with LOI, was that it's part of his master plan that he was gonna put that signage. It hasn't been put up, but it's part of the plat. But I requested that and some green space. At this point, that agreement has not been signed with him, because if we're going to assist with this road expansion and addition of sewer, we wanted to know what are we getting in exchange for that. But
So,
we
does
did
that have
identify
like a
the
deadline or
sign.
no? Does he have a deadline for that?
With the previous 380?
Yes.
No.
No? Okay.
And I had our legal review it to see what we could.
Because that's extremely
happen with
important.
that.
And I mean, if you look at big corporate businesses, that's the first thing they do. Even before opening, they already have their big sign.
Where they can advertise the businesses, and we identified from 755, you're not able to see all the businesses that are along 83, so that signage was
Yeah.
necessary.
The good thing is if you're passing through Business 83, I mean,
Well,
you
you'll
see
see
everything
everything.
right there.
Yeah.
But that's something that we can request and say, hey, they're asking for it.
It's included in the LOI, I'll share that with you.
Okay. Included, and let's push for, let's give them a call, hey, they're asking for the signs and the businesses too. Where we have a space where it's gonna be?
He
Do we-
has it in the plat,
Okay.
yes. So if I'm not mistaken, it's between that Starbucks and Buffalo Wings and Rings. There's supposed to be a sign there, and also close by the Tractor Supply on the 755 side.
Okay.
I just have a comment on page 35, under Main Street Enhancement Project.
Yes.
So I guess it was allocated 20,000 for the facade improvement grants.
So that would account for 4 applicants.
I guess my question is, so you divided by 4 to be about, maximum is 5,000.
Yes,
Is that upon the EDC policy or bylaws, that that'll be the maximum, or that's something that,
That's part of our application. So at some point it was 2,500, and we actually increased it to 5,000 because obviously construction and, but it's at the discretion of this EDC to take a case-by-case basis. If there's a project that is extensive, we can go beyond those 5,000, but typically we cap it at those 5,000. But if they're doing a full remodel and you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, then that is something we can bring to.
and the reason I brought it up, because I mean, I've been blessed to be granted this, part of this grant in the past, and it's very helpful to the small business owners. It's just that some of my friends over here, they're related with the construction, 5,000 doesn't really do a lot.
Yeah, well, doesn't go too far, yeah.
So I guess, I'm glad you said, it could be taken on a per case basis. We could have different, standards that would say, based on this, it'll be up to 5, based on this, could be up to 75, 100, and maybe a different amount.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Or they
I
can
mean, we put
divide
up-
their project up, say they wanna work on the,
we put $20,000 on
So
there.
that only 4 projects at
Well, that's the amount that we put up for grant money. I mean, we can always up it, I mean,
I just wanted to know if it was something that's something that could be upon the decision of the majority, be adjusted,
but we have to revisit. We have to revisit because we've had people come in and, okay, they invest this much money, they get this much, and then they're gone. They do all of the work and then they close down. We want something, Mr. Barrera brought up a good point. We want these entrepreneurs to come in and stay and build their business here in Rio Grande for about 10, 15, 20 years, where their families can take over at one point or another. We want them to learn, so that's what we're gonna start doing, trying to do the one-stop shop, UTRGV, so they can start learning what sales tax is all about, what they need to do, what,
Yes.
you know, what type of investment they need to make, before they make an investment, not knowing what was gonna happen. Because, yeah, you can go, anybody can go and get a building and say, you know what, I'm gonna buy this building, I'm gonna fix it up, I'm gonna come and get a grant, $5,000, then what are you gonna do with it? We wanna make sure that you're gonna open up something. Now, downtown in the Main Street, we've had a lot of buildings. And I had an idea of talking to all those property owners and going into an agreement with them and maybe get a grant, fix those buildings up, rent them, sublease them.
It's all
and
yours?
No, well, it's gonna be very hard because these property owners,
They're
They-
divided amongst family?
yeah, there's just a lot of people, a lot of owners, a lot of heirs. It's very, very hard, but
I mean, if
That's-
you tell them you're giving them some cash to help them out and remodel,
we would have to, lease it, sublease it, and we can give them a tax abatement of some sort.
Have
To
you
the
talked to
property owners.
any of them, Mr. Lopez?
No, I don't know any of them to begin with. I don't think very many live it. Like the property that she was showing us, the Brownies property where that old gas station next to the old Triple L building, next to Runners, that empty lot. Yeah, where are they? I don't know who the property owners are. We can get it.
I'm sure we can have some community members that know them all, and maybe they can have good relationships, and maybe we can have a committee and divide the duties, and hey, you might know them, but they're tough, but hey, we can find out who's their family members, and we can do that.
It's not about now. It's about the future.
Yes.
Because State Loop 195 is gonna come within the next 10 years, it's gonna be done, 10, 12 years. Our downtown is gonna be a perfect place for nightlife, to open up those buildings for shopping, and attract more people from out of town to come to Rio Grande.
And then I think we need to take the steps to do that.
Yes.
Not just say, we need to do that. We need to take the steps to do that.
Right.
I mean, we can go to the appraisal district and they have maps, you can go in, the taxes have to go somewhere, so that's the starting
Right.
point.
Right.
And we can send them, we can contact them.
No, and it's something, and it goes back to the facade grants. If we do good with our sales tax, we can allocate some money to fix up some of these buildings a year at a time, one building at a time. And fix it.
When I have family come in, they're just in awe of downtown because of the year on the buildings, just the sheer history. And they're just kind of disappointed that it is not.
Fixed.
that-
Or it should be.
Yeah, it's not our diamond, but every time they come down, they're just, let's go by, let's walk, and they truly enjoy it. And it's just the upkeep, or the owners, I tell them they're privately owned.
Any great project needs preparation and takes time, but if we can start today, I can definitely assure you that in 8, 12 years, we can have a beautiful downtown, but it has to start. And if we all have that vision, why don't we start now? And that's what we are here for. So
I mean, it takes a lot of money and resources, but at the end of the day, we could be proud of our properties and beautify the city, the Main Street and
And I know we've talked about being stricter with the ordinances, because at the end of the day, these property owners should be maintaining their own property. We can come in and assist, but we're never gonna have enough to fix the whole downtown. The main responsibility should fall on these property owners. They have this beautiful building on downtown, and they're just letting it.
The property owners, if they want to invest, a lot of them do have money to invest into it. We can give them tax abatement, we can lease it for them, if they want to make the investment. We can look for somebody to lease that building, and they can make the investment. Not so much us, but we can help them with a facade.
yeah.
Well, let's look at some
Main Street
communities.
program, you've got work to do.
Yeah, let's look at some communities and how they're, look at their ordinances and see how they're addressing these challenges, because we're not the only ones unique with this problem. And also maybe even look at the financing for some of these projects. So I think several years back, we went to Laredo and they presented on how they had a whole taxing district just for your downtown. So it's reinvested back into the downtown area for development. The return on investment was phenomenal. Once those buildings were upgraded, there is no better investment out there than investing in what is currently existing. It just needs that support. So I think the city of Laredo, together with their Main Street program, put on this information where they had experts come in and talk about those type of financing tools available for districts, historic districts like ours.
Are there any other questions on the budget work?
Just one more. I was unable to attend the workshop, but I was given the video, so that really helped. Appreciate it. Going back to page 31. Personal expenses, basically salaries and benefit costs. Do you see it fit or appropriate to keep it at the same as the year before?
As far as implementing some employee raises or?
I don't know what the city is doing. I mean, usually on my end, usually wages they go up every year.
Yes.
That's where I'm coming from. So I don't know if
It's hard to give myself a raise.
But
But definitely
it's not
as
just
far
you,
as
it's-
the support staff, I would be open to providing some incentives. I know the city is going to organize a committee to look at the salaries of all the city employees. So I'm sure they'll take into account some of these positions as well. We're not on a pay scale, and we need to be, just so that the pay for all the employees is fair and competitive, and we're dealing with the cost of living increase. And I know we have some employees that definitely deserve a raise in our department, yes.
But when do you have to publish the
So
post?
we'll have a public hearing and a first reading, and there's, the second reading has to be done by September, because the budget is adopted October 1st. So we still have some time to look at it, but I do have the totals of where we're at on page 36. So you see that absolute last line? Those would be monies that we would need to take from our fund balance, because at this point the budget is not balanced. And by the end of this fiscal year, September 30th, we're anticipating that the projected fund balance will be $2,072,748.
Ms. Guillen, in the past, was that a common practice? What was the, I guess, approach as far as salaries was concerned?
So the EDC takes follows the city's recommendations for increases. So I think over the last couple of years, they've done incremental increases of 1,000 here or there. Those that have had their, pay increased, it's by position or I'm not sure. I know at one point the city looked at its pay for employees based on a recommendation from the Department of Labor. They had I think it was, not sure what year it was, but they were going to implement an overtime pay for employees that did not have a certain minimum salary a year. And I think it was like 45 or something. And so that rule thus had the city increase the pay for those that fell below. Otherwise, they would be hourly employees paid at time and a half for overtime. And as we just discussed, we have a lot of overtime. So there was that increase, but over the years, I mean, Mr.
We did
Milan
a
can.
dollar increase for all the employees throughout the board last year.
Yeah,
So that's the last time we got
Are
any.
those increases done yearly or,
they're done across the board.
but yearly, like
No,
every year?
no.
Or
It's based on the discretion.
It's
just based on
the
discretion, so-
revenue for the city, so the
Okay.
city has to have funds, like Leonel, who's not here, would probably tell you that last year he made the case that they had some funding available, and the commission chose where they wanted to put that money, and they put that money into the employees. So thus, we were able to get the $1 an hour increase for employees, but it's at the discretion of the city commission.
what about evaluations for employees?
We do annual, well, we're doing evaluations twice a year with the
I see.
city.
Plus now we're gonna have a committee, and it's gonna look at performance and basically, and most importantly, the ones that are underpaid. Now we're gonna have a committee that's gonna listen to them, and also the director of that department will make their own recommendation and see if we can put him at a better salary. There's some very important employees that are just making $12, $13 that they deserve 16, 17. So we're starting this committee next week.
Well, cost of living has gone up
Oh, yeah.
significantly.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
There's a salary goal that they should follow, the city should follow a salary goal where,
Yeah, but it's very difficult for an employee just to come to the human resources director and say, hey, I want an increase. Well, go to your director, and then if you're not in good standing with your director, your options are pretty much limited. So now, several members of the commission and others will be part of that committee, and we have identified several that really deserve a raise, so we're gonna look to their stories, and then we're gonna take it from there.
Based on their performances,
Yes, sir.
you know, and their duties.
Yes.
Yes,
If you
and,
have employers that have come into the community, they're paying upwards of $16 an hour just to start.
Yes.
And so when you look at our employees making $12 an hour
Yes.
and hard labor,
Yes.
it almost seems like they can just get an indoor retail job and
Yes.
earn 15 just to start. 16.
And that's the reason we want to listen to them.
That's good.
Well, it's important to have happy employees, you know, when you pay them appropriately, you're gonna get more off of them than if you have them on a low pay rate, so that's a really good.
And that's the reason that came up to my eye in the sense of, I don't know the details how those salaries are broken down. It's just keeping up with inflation, the cost of living, and be competitive. And sometimes I have clients that lose a good employee because they couldn't stay competitive with their
And we
salaries.
talked about the retention. We have lost several employees that for $1, and they left. And then we hired another one for more pay with no experience.
So I don't know if we can follow later
Sometimes
on
it's
what the
just,
city's
you know,
gonna be doing
I
and
think
make appropriate
that would be my recommendation, is to see what the city has proposed as
So,
far as pay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Yin. So you don't have a set pay rate per position
We don't
or
have a pay
occupation?
scale or a minimum
There isn't any.
wage, no.
and that's what needs to be brought.
Yeah, that needs to be done,
You need a
have
pay scale.
a pay scale,
Yeah.
yeah. To start off, anybody that you hire.
Oh, we have, I think Ms. Solis, is it 12? Was it 12?
12:30.
Yes, 12:30. 12:30, right?
Yes.
That's the minimum. And
Yeah.
there's some that are,
Yeah, but there's different positions.
But
Yes.
you have different
You know, so-
positions and you have different
Different
tiers.
responsibilities.
Like in the state
Yes.
government, you have like your, I don't know, engineer 1, engineer 2,
Yes.
engineer
Yeah.
3.
Yes.
Same thing, economic development 1, economic development 2, and they're
Mr.
all
Milan is already also working on a plan just to revise that scale and present it very soon.
So if I may, the whole point is not to do the dollar across the board, because can give a dollar across the board, not only takes a lot of money, but also the dollar goes to the people with the higher salaries too. And it's discouraging for the entry level employees. So it's to evaluate the lower paying and like Commissioner Barrera said, to retain people who, you know, you got people with certifications, we have lost people with certifications, with valuable, you know, hard to get licenses because of, you know, being underpaid.
And that's one of the recommendations that I had thrown out, that if you look at your budget, and let's say the EDC has a $180,000 budget for salaries, okay, $180,000. And we set aside $18,000, which is 10%, $18,000. Yeah, it's about 18,000, right? Okay. You set out $18,000, okay. So from that $18,000, the evaluation of the employee that the executive director will do will set what that said employee is gonna get, okay? Now, as a board, we evaluate the executive director and staff, okay? And from there, we decide how much. It's not a dollar, you know, Melinda can get a, you know, $3,000 raise a year, divided by 12, it'll increase. It's a merit, they say, a monthly merit or one-time merit. It depends on their evaluation. And that works out because, like you said, you give $1 to a $12.30 earner, and then you give $1 to a $30, you know, hey man, I mean, come on. It just, but there's a way that you can do it if you separate each director should be able to evaluate their employees and recommend this much, and you're giving them so much, okay? But then again, it comes back to the pay scale, where we're at.
Right.
If we want to have, you know, we have these guys that, again, I mentioned it earlier, the guys that are out there in the heat, the guys that are out there, they're the backbone of the city. They're the ones that are trying to keep the city as pretty as possible, mowed and cleaned and everything. But then again, we've got the folks that are in the office running numbers, and we got folks doing, there's different areas of the city. But if we divide that money amongst all the directors, this is how much your salary goal is. We give you so much. You figure out how much you want to give to each employee. Not all employees are going to get because their performance is not there. You know, there's only so much you can give. But there's ways to do it. There's just a lot of ways to do it. And you know, when you give 1,000 here, 1,000 there, and just throw out money just to use that money, I don't see it the right way. I see more deserving employees that don't get anything than others that.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing that committee.
And that's important, and I'll just close with this. So I know that for the EDC, you know, pretty much structured its pay to set it off with the employees that we hired. Some of them were already with us, but with the anticipation that there would be a cost of living adjustment, and that's not something that, and I learned very quickly, that's not something the city had planned for, and so therefore that never really came about until whenever the city had extra funds to give. And that's not uncommon. There's businesses out there that just can't afford to do a cost of living, but I think for the city, whenever it structures its pay, it's taking into account that cost of living adjustment and also its revenues. I mean, I think that the EDC has seen and the city has seen incremental growth in sales tax that just, I mean, could validate for some additional pay, but it really comes down to what the city sets as far as how that's going to be paid out. If it's going to be paid out como hermanitos, everybody gets $1, like we discussed earlier, or they're going to take that pay scale and evaluations and do it in that manner where those that deserve it the most get it. And it also, it's a motivator for you to work harder, because if there's that incentive to get some additional monies for working hard, then your performance is gonna be outstanding.
Some of the techniques, some of the departments, I talk about the plan department, is you have an entry level pay.
Right.
Then once you get your certification, something they upgrade. And it encourages people.
Do those average out with other cities the same size as Rio Grande?
They're similar, but it's hard to keep up, obviously, with other cities.
No, I'm not saying McAllen, I'm saying Palmview, La Jolla.
They're similar.
They're similar, and that's where you gauge yourself. Okay.
All
Good
right.
deal.
Well, you'll let us know if there's any updates on that, and then we'll adjust as necessary on our end. Anything else on this? Thank you for bringing that up, Mario. I know you probably had a fresh look at these numbers, but do you have any other questions?
None, ma'am.
Anybody? No? Okay. All right, let's move on to item number 7, which is your Main Street report.
Yes, we have our Main Street Coordinator, Yanderi de la Cruz here, and Main Street Board Member Mayra Gracia here to give us an update on the work plan for Main Street.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I want to welcome the new board. And I want to thank you all for having me here today. So So we, as the Main Street Advisory Board, meet every month with Yandere. We have workshops and meetings, and we discuss what we can do. Our objective is to, beautify, preserve, do as much as we can. So with what you were saying earlier, Mr. Lopez, we have brought that up, trying to invite the building owners. I know Dalinda helped us with something months ago to educate them, to give them options. At that meeting, what presentation, we were talking about the grant. So we are here. If that is something that we're gonna do, you have us to help you and agree to contacting these business owners, building owners and business owners, giving them options. You're not using your building, lease it out, sell it, and planting seeds to people that are interested in opening businesses. We need to bring in commerce to downtown because that will help preserve the area, making it move, bringing in people and stuff like that. So we are here as the advisory board and Yandere as a coordinator to help with that idea that, like I said, we have discussed it and we do agree with that. So I'm going to update on events that we had worked on for the month of June. One item that we work on are the downtown floral pots. So new floral pots are updated based on the seasons. These were replaced last month, and we will be updating them to fall colors. The cemetery bows, those are also updated upon the season. Ms. Yandere de la Cruz replaces them. She actually makes them and replaces them with the help of some of the Main Street Advisory Board members. The trash can inserts, again, it's part of, what people see, and, we like to let them know what's going on. Sometimes we do advertisements as far as market days and stuff like that. I know, have we done the market days advertisements or not?
These actually, we have another site on the back.
Okay.
So when we take these down, we're gonna put those other ones and on those.
Sometimes we use them for advertisement on events that are coming up. So these were the new ones that were just purchased, and they will also be replaced upon the season, so they will be replaced this fall. Our downtown banners also, we were in need of new ones. Again, that's what shows people who we are, what downtown is. Those have been ordered and will be placed as soon as they come in. So our successful event is Market Days that we have every quarter. Very successful this past June, and we are starting to plan for the month of September 14th. The Main Street Spotlight videos, again, we are here to help local businesses in the Main Street area. So Yandere and Melinda visited with Extreme Party Place, Texas Cafe, and InStyle Beauty Salon. Melinda just posted the Texas Cafe one today, and we'll be posting the other ones as soon as they are done. The trolley tour, they had the first Sip and See trolley tour this past month, which was a great success. So we are looking into organizing a second one in the fall, and they are also still continuing with the regular trolley tours. Yandere is also responsible for submitting a quarterly report, so she did submit that as well, as far as like an update of what is being done, it's a Texas Main Street Program quarterly report, workshops that she goes to, what things we're up to and all that stuff. So again, we're here to help the downtown area, preserve it, beautify it as much as we can with the resources that we currently have, but if we have more continuous help from the EDC, we can go further with Main Street. Thank you, and y'all have a good, or any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Being no further questions, we'll move on to item number 8, and that's a presentation by USDA. Yes, so Mr. Luna sent his apologies. He wasn't able to come in person. When we discussed having the meeting today, he notified me that he would let me know for sure on Monday, but we made
a deadline to complete the business incubator. So he indicated the $300,000 grant was for the land acquisition as part of the EDC's request to build a business incubator. This agreement was approved in 2018. All deadlines have passed. Some extensions were done due to pandemic, then supply chain issues, the cost of material, but we have not received any update timeframes on incubator, and hopefully this will be addressed soon. So I asked if there was an opportunity to apply for additional funding. He said you can apply every year for RBDG funding during the December through January months, and that average awards are around $300,000 depending on number of applicants submitting. Also asked what would happen if we would sell a portion of that property since it's 5 acres. He said if part of the property is sold, then a prorated portion of the grant will need to be repaid back to USDA. I asked if there was any specifications on the size, square footage of the incubator. He stated the incubator size is what you, the EDC, decide is going to be. It is different. If it's different from the original scope of work, which he forwarded that over to me, then we would amend the part of the scope of work. Again, the last question I asked him was if there was any parameters that we needed to meet to operate the incubator. In other words, are we set on having to charge a certain amount based on square footage, or how we would actually run the incubator should we move forward with building it. He said, again, it's whatever the EDC decides on operations. He said, but just to let him know if there's going to be an amendment to the scope of work. And he said to please notify him on the decisions of moving forward. I know his office has been asked about this project, wanting to know when this incubator, if and when this incubator will be built. So that is the update on that project. Let me know if we do want to move forward so that I can begin looking at that application. If it is due in December, January, it will give me some time to work on it. If we're wanting to do that, I know the other option was possibly just selling the property and returning those $300,000. Right.
So really, it's as we discussed at the workshop, there's the option to buy it outright, to sell it and have it clear and free of any tie-in to the agency, sell it or build on it, sell it in whole or in part. So,
and I know that is prime property.
Right.
So we could get a good amount of money should we choose to move forward and selling that property. So returning $300,000 wouldn't be too much. But again, if we are wanting an incubator for this community, we've already started the process, and it would just be a matter of applying for additional funds. I know we discussed it's probably difficult to build an incubator for $300,000. But again, if we sell portion of that property, because we don't need 5 acres for that incubator, we'd still be returning some monies anyways. So just
there's
take
only
that
like
into
4 acres,
consideration.
right, that could be used.
Usable
Yeah.
3.5.
That's what I was gonna say right now. That's what I was gonna start to calculate.
Very little.
Because there's no entrance for
never gonna do
textile.
And textile will not allow.
What entrance
An
from?
entrance.
From 83.
No, because you got that big.
Right.
And
You got a
then-
right turn lane, and then you got the
But it's
green
still
there.
a good property. It's still
Yes.
a corner property, and
You would have to target either the medical field or maybe another, well, we have a gas station up north of there, a restaurant.
You're not allowed to have a new restaurant.
Well, remember, McDonald's is locating out to that area, and that in
Well,
itself is gonna
across.
generate
I know.
interest.
Mhm.
And
I
so,
live in the area.
yeah, and so this land, if this board chooses to hang on to it for a bit, I think we're okay. I did talk to Mr. Gomez, who, to let him know that there's a new board with, that some time to take this information and come to a decision. We're not in any particular hurry, but I did explain there's options out there for us. We have some prospects looking at Rio Grande, and that's available, that's an asset that we can offer. So we're not in any rush to have to do it right away, but we need to think about it. And especially if we want to construct anything on it, those funds are available to apply for. Some years it's very competitive, and some years it's like, please apply, because we don't have enough applicants. Roelio is usually really good about giving us that indication, but I say, you know, if it's the desire of the board to build, then we should start exploring that application. And there will be a match also, and they're gonna want construction figures. They're gonna wanna know what are the building specs and how much is it gonna cost? And so we have to be prepared with all of that information when we apply.
Well, I think that's something that we should know first to see if it's something feasible for us to move forward. You know, have some plans drawn or preliminary plans and then price everything out and see if it's something
If it's feasible.
that's even feasible, you know, for us to do.
I agree.
And then if not, then we can go to the next option, which is maybe selling, I don't know.
We can look and
Whichever
see if,
comes
Ms.
Huh?
Hernandez, if you
Whichever
can get
comes
us an
first.
estimate on
Yeah.
that.
And maybe, I think I already know the answer, just if you could just confirm. So this funds were received back in 2018, property was purchased around that time?
Yes,
Yes?
Yeah, we purchased it from the city, right?
yeah, that property was purchased by EDC from the city.
Okay, and I guess my question is, I know, like I said, that we're past the deadline and so forth. Is there any way that this grant specifications could be amended? With these monies, what I'm trying to go to is that there's another property that could facilitate an incubator. Could those monies be transferred to this?
It's already been
Sure, attached.
purchased. It's been purchased, that was a long time ago.
The money's been spent.
Yeah.
And I asked if we could do the incubator in another city property, and he indicated no. It needs to
That
be done in
particular
that area, and if it's not, then we need to return those to them.
Or sell it, or, I mean, they.
Yeah.
Sell it and return them.
Yeah. So, something to think
We
about.
have it.
So,
But we don't have to sell it all.
Yeah,
No,
I
you
mean,
don't.
the incubator, I think that's a great idea, to be honest with you. This is my opinion. I think it's a great idea. And we just to, let's say, that we have 3.5 acres that are available, right? And, I mean, we can use the incubator on the north side, and then we can leave these two acres or two, one, or divide them into one and one, or two together, and we can use these for the incubator. And let's say we have a proposal of $500,000, right? Let's say that it's to complete the 5 spaces or 6 office spaces, and we don't finish it with the first $300,000. We'll wait another year, and then can we reapply again to finish the project? I think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. And then if we already have these two subdivided, I mean, what if I know that there's a very well-known pizza place that wants to come, right? That's a perfect spot for that pizza place. And 2 acres, I think that's enough. Is it enough or no?
yes.
With 2 acres, or, I mean, 2 very, we talked to another restaurant, a high-end brunch restaurant from McAllen, that I think 1 acre is enough for them. So we can have 2 businesses, brand new, and then the incubator on the other side. That could be, I mean, we can sell them to them or help them.
But if you sell the acreage, you already get those $300,000
Yes,
back.
yes.
Just 1 acre.
Yeah, but maybe these businesses, either we can wait for bigger businesses to come and we can sell them, because if we bring somebody that is local, they might want some help with, selling them a cheaper price or something. But I think I like that idea.
We had developed some concepts with Mildred
Yes,
Hunt.
I saw them.
So you can kind of see how much space you have to work with there.
And it accommodated several buildings.
Yeah.
So
you
what would it
think
take financially to do, Mr. Reyna proposed, a feasibility study to run numbers? If we sell the entire property, if we
Give me
take
Call some
property,
builders.
Yeah, no preliminary drawings were made, right? Or no, nothing proposed
Yes, we have
for
some land
a
options.
structure for a
We
building?
had some
But for
concepts.
buildings.
that
Some
were-
concepts.
Yeah, that were
That's
drawn.
what that means, yeah.
How mean, off the record, I mean, we can give you just an idea on how much it will cost, and we can go like, halfway through the project.
At
So
least
we can
build
make
the
it with,
shell.
yes, just the shell, that's what they do on those developments, right? Just the shell,
And you build as they come in?
yes.
Yes,
Build
I
to
mean,
suit.
it's not, we don't have to do it in one time, but I mean, we wait, we've been waiting for
Yeah,
since 2018.
so the only
2 more
requirement.
years, now we're gonna have $600,000.
Yeah, the only, so USDA has a definition of small business. So they have to have, I think it's 99 employees or less, and they have to make, under $1 million. And you might wanna verify that, but I think those are the last figures I saw. So as long as you're servicing businesses that fit that mold, you're good. Now, like Mr. Gomez said, if that building goes on to, or that business goes on to grow beyond the $1 million mark,
we find them
well,
another
that's
spot.
even better.
Yeah,
That
well,
we're not penalized for that. As long as our criteria for bringing them into the incubator, into the building, is that they must have that,
In the beginning.
at the beginning.
Yes, that's
But we
great.
certainly want them to make over
Yes.
$1 million,
So that's the
especially
whole
if
point,
it's
no?
tax.
Isn't that the whole point, to be there, I mean, in an incubator, because you're starting,
Right.
2-3 years later, hey, I outgrown this facility, I'm leaving,
Well,
it's time.
if it's a business incubator, you're there temporarily.
Yes.
You're not supposed to stay there indefinitely. It's a startup to get your business off the ground, and then you move elsewhere, and then you allow that opportunity for another business. Because if we continue with the same retailers, then you're never gonna give that opportunity.
Are
to
we
anyone.
talking maybe like 8 units, 10 units?
It's at our discretion, because I asked that.
But the
as far
plans.
as the-
Well, if you let us know, yes, they just come up with a budget for a 10-unit incubator. Then, I mean, we can discuss it and we can come up with at least a very accurate estimate of, hey, this is what it will cost at least for the shell.
Well,
And
I
then-
think we need to have a general idea, is this going to accommodate a restaurant, is this gonna accommodate office space, is this gonna accommodate,
I
what
think that
types
the
of
necessity
businesses
of-
are we trying to assist?
Exactly, and you got a good point there, whether, you don't wanna mix the restaurant with a retail, because some of that smell of the restaurant goes back and forth. You've been to some of the businesses.
Is this targeted to a particular industry?
You can always have
Whatever you
one.
want.
As long as
Whatever
it's
you
small
want.
business.
I think that the lack of professional services, it's a need, and so a good idea would be like
Like an
professional,
office suite?
yes, offices. I mean, very neat, you don't have too much traffic, and they starting in an office.
They just need a
Yeah,
place
accountants,
to meet.
Place to.
Like an office and a reception area?
Yeah.
yes.
Those
very-
don't generate a revenue for us,
And a
but,
nice
I
picture.
mean, they do fill a need.
Do they need to generate sales tax revenues?
That would be up to this board to decide.
That is a
Obviously,
good point. I mean, yeah, we want to, because of course, we want to get our investment back
Return.
through revenues, through sales tax revenue, so it can be done that way.
But also, I mean.
But that's something that we can do in a workshop. We can do a workshop and talk about.
And maybe look at the bigger benefit, not
Yeah.
just sales tax, also employment.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
all
we're
right.
here to create jobs and bring in sales tax.
Sounds like we've got some plans
So as far as reporting back to Mr. Gomez, should I let him know that we are interested in pursuing the incubator, or?
I'll say yes,
I would say
but
yes.
it's a board.
I'd like to see Mr. Gomez come down and give us a little
Yes,
bit,
yeah.
a recap of how we can apply for more grants
Alternatives.
through them,
Yeah.
alternatives and stuff like that.
Yes,
And,
I did ask him about additional grants, and he said you really want to complete this one.
Yes.
Because this might,
Affect you.
Right.
Ms. Hernandez, would it be possible to get a preliminary drawing on the acres that you want to allocate?
I have some proposed site plan I can share with you.
Okay, but do you have a structure? Not yet? Like a proposed
layout?
building, a layout?
So I think there was
Okay,
like certain.
okay, so I already have that.
Yeah.
Take this into consideration, we have the Fordyce trails in there, so.
Yes.
You have to make,
To provide access.
yeah.
But that would be the south side, I think, because looks like that's what's
think the
going,
swimming
already
pool
declining to
business
that little
would
creek
work
that's there.
Something
You could just put
I
to,
forward.
would,
somebody who sells chemicals.
share those conceptual plans with the board so that they
You're
can
right.
see what
I
what
can
fits.
email that over to everyone. if
Okay.
they're
Leslie,
okay with it.
go to Leslie.
They're the only ones
Okay,
they found
well then
out.
return to give us a little bit more information, and Ms. Hernandez will share those conceptual layouts with everyone, so you can take a look at those at your time and leisure, and then when we regroup, we can have a better idea of what those buildings would take to construct. Item number 9 on the agenda is discussion and possible action to amend the corporate resolution and name the authorized bank account signatories.
Yes, so obviously our board has changed members, and we need to update this resolution to reflect those changes and send this over to our banking institution, which is Lone Star Bank, so that we can designate the signatories for the bank account.
I have a correction on here. It's got listed at the bottom paragraph, place and stop payments, account, Ms. Hernandez, Noe Castillo needs to be removed. Valerie Brown Garza, Leonel Cantu, they're authorized to inquire, at least Ms. Hernandez, Valerie Brown Garza, Leonel Cantu, along with Mr. Milan to go ahead and put place stop payments as needed and inquire on the accounts. But the signatories are those names that you see listed there, which is the board of directors.
So it's just to change, update it to Mr. Milan, correct?
Because we haven't made any checks, right?
No.
So
We've
you just
made
have to
checks,
remove, no?
I know we've made payments, but the way they set up the system is for an actual signature, it's for payments over 5,000. Other than that, they're being printed out through the check printing system with our finance department. Because that of signing each and every check was
Right.
becoming.
But you have a signature printed on each check.
Yes.
Okay, I think it's important that we update this immediately because I believe the account as it stands currently reflects the previous
Yes,
board.
so what we will
signatures.
submit is this resolution, and the minutes from this meeting will be turned over to the bank. And if we can get this signed today by all the members.
So we're gonna do the change of,
Yes, we have to update this, so let's get a clean copy with that revision so
I
that
can update it as soon
everyone
as
can
we
sign it.
conclude the meeting, and if y'all can stay behind to sign it for me, that way we can move forward with this as soon as possible.
So for this is an action item, I will need a motion.
I so move.
I'll
I
second.
need a second, further discussion.
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, same sign. Motion carries. All right, don't forget to stick around and sign this resolution. And you'll also have to come back and get signatures on the actual bank card itself.
Yes.
But,
Well, we'll work with our finance director, Mr. Cantu, with that.
got it. Okay. Item number 10 on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve the advertisement of the executive director position. So as you know, we have a temporary interim executive director for the EDC that Ms. Hernandez is holding up the fort as this board transitions into a permanent executive director position. So at this point, I think it's important that we start to take the necessary steps to get formalized on an executive director role. We do have a work plan and a budget that we're about to implement for this new fiscal year, and we want to make sure that we're able to, in it, include an executive director role. And Ms. Hernandez, thank you for doing what you're doing to help us continue the work of the EDC. We're in a very pivotal moment right now at the city with so much growth and so much interest, and we don't want to see any of that obviously slow down. We've got some really good interest in the community, and so we want to keep our eye on that. And I think solidifying an executive director role is something this board is in charge of doing, and so we can go about it in a manner that allows us to maybe break it down into a subcommittee for a search. And that committee typically puts together the qualifications and criteria and works to get this advertised out to the public. I know that TML does a lot of advertising for cities across the state. So that's one, area where you would want to place this advertisement. But I think first and foremost, we should consider that role of having a subgroup of this board take a look at that process of formulating the actual qualifications and advertisement, and then report to the board as it progresses. This will take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. This system of forming a committee is what works in other boards, and so that's why I'm recommending it, unless you feel like it's something you want to go ahead and just put an ad out in the paper for. But my recommendation is you collect the thoughts of the committee, and then let them work through the process and bring that to the board for its final decision.
And I'd like to piggyback on what you said, Ms. Hernandez has been holding the fort down, but we are going into a new fiscal year. And I think it's imperative that we do advertise for an executive director, because that'll only help us, get more grants. Keep the wheels rolling, like as they say, keep the wheels turning. But of course, it's at the discretion of the board what we want to do. And I like the idea of going through TML and see where they can help us too, and put down, but maybe get a group together and open it up. I mean, I don't know what the rest of the board is.
Yes, I agree with both of you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. You've been doing these new tasks for 3 months. You've been everywhere, helping the city, helping the EDC, helping the tourism everywhere. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And like you, and I've told you already, this is a complete new board with new vision, new ideas, new mentalities, and new ways to work. And we like what you're doing. Yes, I personally like what you're doing, but I think it's a fair thing to open it to the public and see just other options. And I'm sure you would like to apply, and I'm sure you're gonna do well. But at this time, I do agree with Ms. Guillen. Maybe we can come up with that committee and look for options to better look for the best candidate available. And so I also wanted just to mention that I really like what you're doing, but this is just it's safe and healthy to open it and see what's out there. When we got here, you were already here. So that's my opinion, and also TML can help. And I don't know if there's already like an application on like with the EDC on the requirements for this position, the qualifications, the education needed, the experience. So if there's one, I would like to see it, but more like what Ms. Belinda Guillen said, if we can come up with that committee, it will be great.
I know that we're part of the Texas EDC. They have qualifications for the executive director that we could look over. And for the record, I agree. I look forward to getting someone in this position better than myself to work this position. I was appointed as an interim because Mrs. Guillen had resigned at the time, so it was, again, just
I sought another opportunity.
Yes.
So
I'm sorry. So we moved to another position. However, I was placed on an interim with anticipation that someone else would come in and fulfill the role. We've had some changes recently. I continue to work as hard as I can on this it's a learning process for me. I did provide some oversight, but I was not the person doing this job day in, day out. Had to learn a lot in a short period of time. I appreciate the opportunity bestowed upon me to fulfill that role in the time being. And I look forward and hopefully can assist in the participation of finding this individual to take on this role. But we can start with the job description provided by the TEDC, because they do have a template. And again, appoint some members for even the interview process, right? Because I believe that this board should be able to choose who will be their executive director.
So just in previous experience, only because I've done this and I was trying to brush up on it, many years ago, we did an executive search for a CEO. This organization manages upwards of $90 million, and so for us, it was a statewide, nationwide search for the right candidate. That board was 25 members. We combined it to an executive committee, odd number. I think we were about maybe 3 that handled the criteria, and of course we went through and provided this information to a firm that helped us locate. But they were able to give us all of those applications. We went through the ranking and interview, and then brought those candidates back to the board so that they can get to meet them. And so I think it's only fair that everybody has that opportunity to get in front of those candidates, and that's something that I agree we should do. Everyone has something they're looking for in this particular role, but I think it's a lot for the board to handle as a whole, so I would suggest that we break it down to a small group to do the legwork. Typically, your executive director or acting CEOs usually don't get as involved in the process, but it's a board action, a board activity, you know. But like collecting that information for this committee to look at, I think that would be very helpful, because that's something that this committee would need to do. So with that being said, I believe we should look at most 3 members of this board to take on that role, to kind of collect these criteria, and then finalize it or fine tune it. We can always bring it back to the board and discuss it, and then put it out for advertisement when it's ready.
I agree.
Who's up for the task?
I'm up.
I'm out.
Okay.
You're on for the task, or you're out?
No, I'm out.
Okay.
I'm not. It's gonna be very hard.
You're
You
not.
are or you're not?
I'm not.
No?
Miss Linda?
Yes,
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just about to say.
So then, as your board
If I
chair,
may,
yes,
I can be part of that.
absolutely. I would encourage you to participate, to help us, because after all, your EDC executive director would work hand in hand with your city manager to make sure that there's a good line of communication, because if you don't have that good line of communication, you're not going to get very far. And so you're looking for your work spouse in a way, because this person you'll be working with very closely on a regular basis. So
Who is the third person, I'm sorry?
So-
I have Linda.
Does it have to be 3 or 4? Can it be 4? Because you're the one with more experience, Miss Guillen.
well, I would be happy to assist.
That's great.
Okay, so then I would ask then to formalize this, to get a motion to
Because we're gonna present it to the.
the board.
You wanna make sure you're gonna stay that you don't have quorum when you all meet as a
Right,
subcommittee.
that's why I suggested 3.
Oh, okay, so then
You wanna make sure that you don't have quorum when you're meeting.
She could
subcommittee.
yeah, but Mr. Milan is not part of the.
No, but he's number 4.
Yeah, but he's not part of the.
That's fine. He's not.
Oh, yeah, so we're good.
You're good.
Yeah, we're good.
You just don't wanna get that
Yeah, no,
4th
yes.
board member.
No,
Because then
yes.
you have,
I agree, so,
I know we don't have legal here, but, you know, we.
yes, no.
okay. So then the motion would read to have an Executive Director Search Committee, naming Mr. Barrera, Ms. Davila, myself, and from the board, with the assistance of Mr. Milan, City Manager for the City of Rio Grande. Do I have a
Madam
motion?
President, I so move that the committee that was mentioned can start advertisement or start looking at maybe advertising for the executive director position. That is my motion.
To include the
To
following
include the
candidates
following
in the committee?
candidates, not the following candidates, the following committee members to start the process of searching for a new executive director.
I second.
That was a complex motion. You got it, Angela?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Angela.
that's okay. So we'll call upon Ms. Hernandez to
We'll redo
help
the
us
next
get some of that information from TEDC. And anything else that we need to schedule, I imagine that if we need to facilitate calls via Zoom for any of this, that we can work with the city on that, or meeting space if necessary.
Oh,
Okay? Oh, okay. All right, item number 16, if there's, I know that we want to get quick to adjournment, but I just want to say something. I wasn't here at our first meeting, and I was a little late to this one. I just want to say that I am very, very proud to serve among such a diverse group of individuals in this board, and I am so looking forward to the ideas that you bring, and I know that, like I said earlier, this community is growing by leaps and bounds, and I wholeheartedly believe that we'll take it in the direction that it needs to go. With so much brain power in the room, I'm excited. So just thank you again for your confidence, and I'll promise I won't keep our meetings long, only when necessary.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that.
And also, if we can have our meetings at 6 p.m. or 6:30. I get out at 5:30, and it's very hard for me to make it on time. Today, I was able to get out early, but
I have a complaint for TxDOT because it took me
anyway, as
forever
we're,
with those
I'm
lights.
not in TxDOT cap right now. I don't have a
Please
TxDOT.
need to start up a
I'm
little.
an EDC member.
No, but I think a little bit later, even if it were 5:30 or 6, would give us more time to get through the.
5:30 or we want 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock is better because I get out. I mean, everybody can go home at 5 o'clock and, freshen up and then come to a meeting. Not rush over
5:30
here.
is better for me, 'cause I
Not
have
me.
a family to feed.
I would have to come straight over here.
All right.
6 is already late.
Item 11 is adjournment. To have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by aye. Those against, same sign. It is officially 7:10 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.
2 hours.
So it takes 2 hours, so
7 hours and 10 minutes here.
I'm going to be late.
You can have the